And Shedeur is him. Shedeur is cool, calm, collected. He's been bred for this. He's been trained for this. He's a Shedeur Sanders.
There's no doubt who to go with. You'll be a fool not to pick him.
I want a ball, and I need you to be running across.
Rhythm, timing, ball placement. He's all pro at.
They came for the show. They know we go big or go home.
I came up with a comp for Shedeur, Joe Montana.
All I need is opportunity. Simple.
Pulling up, making noise. Number one, ain't no choice.
He's going to be a quarterback you win a lot of games with.
I like these colors, though. Don't you like these colors?
Great.
I like these colors.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks until the NFL draft, when we'll finally find out where Shedeur Sanders and this year's other top prospects end up. Today finds Shedeur in Pittsburgh visiting the Steelers, who hold the 21st pick in this year's draft. Welcome into NFL Live on this Thursday. I am Dan Graziano, joined today by Field Yates, Mina Kimes, and Marcus Spears. And we want to start there. We're going to start with Shedeur Sanders. He's the hottest name going right now. 2 weeks out of the draft. He's in Pittsburgh today to talk to the Steelers. We'll get right to it. Mina, what do you think about that potential fit?
Love it. This is my preferred spot for Shedeur Sanders, so I'll start there. I think it's a good landing spot for any rookie quarterback, given the fact that they have really good receiving trio now in DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and their tight end, Pat Freiermuth. I think the offensive line is headed in the right direction, particularly on the interior. We'll see what they get out of their former first-round draft pick, Troy Fautanu, now that he's healthy. And I also think Arthur Smith is going to like Sanders' skill set, or would like Sanders' skill set, pardon me. Particularly his willingness to throw accurately over the middle of the field, which last year both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson aren't really quarterbacks who target that part of the field. Arthur Smith really prioritizes it. That said, all of that said, I do think there's other things that needed to be added to this offense elsewhere in the draft. If they were to take him, they need a running back. I'll start there. A lot of value to be found later. And I would consider continuing to add on the offensive line and maybe go for a slot receiver. But when we're talking Shedeur Sanders destinations, and I have said this from the beginning, the Pittsburgh Steelers are by far my favorite for him.
Yeah, MK, I'm not going to get into the weeds. You just explained eloquently about what's available to him in that situation. I'm going to go culture. How many years have we been on NFL Live and we've been waiting for the Steelers to find a quarterback that could fit what they do, somebody that could be a stalwart, and they can start to build out the rest of the roster? Me and MK talk all the time about the salary cap. It's a lot easier to manage it when you got a signal caller, especially when they are rookie. And that's what's had Pittsburgh in a lot of – this is a reverberation of a lot of things when you don't get that position right. What do we do? How do we build a team if we know we can't get a quarterback or we haven't identified somebody that potentially can take us into the next 10 or 15 years? I love the pairing with Mike Tomlin. You know him and Prime has a relationship. I think that's going to be important in his career as well. So I think Pittsburgh would be a good fit for those reasons as well.
Yeah, Graz, I think there are some people that are probably asking the question, what does this mean about the status of Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let's just face it, he's going to be 42 in December. He did not play at peak level last year or anywhere close to it. So whether they sign Aaron Rodgers or not, I actually think the idea of drafting a quarterback at 21 is still prudent. We have seen plenty of examples of teams drafting a quarterback when they already have their starter on the roster, and more often than not, that younger option has proved a much more valuable commodity going forward. Even the Falcons last year drafting Michael Penix, which we all questioned at the time. It turned out the big mistake was paying Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed. And I'll just say this about Shedeur Sanders. Whoever the quarterback is in that offense, has got two huge personalities in DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the outside. That's a great thing to throw the football to. You got to be able to manage and command that huddle. I think Shedeur Sanders more so than basically any rookie quarterback that I can think of in recent memory has the gravitas, the cachet to kind of command that respect from these big personalities.
Certainly wouldn't shrink from star power. He's been around it, obviously, his entire life. He's not the only prospect making the rounds today. Penn State's Abdul Carter is visiting with the New York Giants, who own the 3rd overall pick. That, according to our Adam Schefter. Carter was a monster at Penn State last year, led all Power 4 players in tackles for loss, and ranked 2nd behind Tennessee's James Pierce in pressure percentage. If the Giants land him, they'd be adding to a strength. The Giants' defense was tied for 8th in sacks last year, and Carter was 4th in sacks among Power 4 players. So, yeah, Field, I mean, like you look at the Giants roster, there's a lot that they need.
Yeah.
It feels like edge rush is one place where they're fairly solid. So what do you think about that idea?
Isn't it funny, Kras, how we spend like 9 months of the year talking about how the best way to attack the draft is you make sure you have that value in mind. You never want to draft for need. You just want to draft for value. And then we get really close to the draft and we're like, yeah, but the Giants already have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. Nice starting point. Take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, whichever of those two falls to you at number 3. Don't overthink this whatsoever. Look at the top rosters around the NFL. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I get it. We always do this. We try to mimic the Super Bowl winning team. But there's good reason to do that, right? They just won the Super Bowl. And what was one thing the Eagles had? Layers upon layers of pass rush depth. You could have a player that we look back upon 5 years from now as the best in the entire draft. The comparisons to Micah Parsons because he wore number 11 and went to Penn State and went from a stand-up inside linebacker to an edge rusher, getting thrown around a lot. From a football perspective, there's some merit to them as well. Don't bypass this opportunity, Swagoo. I know you are always in favor of getting more big boys up front.
I would love to agree with you, Babyface, but this would be Travis Hunter, no doubt for me.
Yeah.
A team with already with a number 1 wide receiver in Malik Neighbors, so you wouldn't have to have him be the one for you in that position. And I think he could go both ways on this team. It would make more sense with him being the number 2 to Malik and not having to carry the brunt of that receiver responsibility, but also a lockdown corner. And I'm listening to the draft talk, and you know how much of respect I have for y'all. The last time I checked, these guys are harder to find than pass rushers in the last 5 years, as far as guys coming and shutting down one side of the field. We just saw Derek Stingley get paid. We know how important Patrick Surtain was in Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I think Travis Hunter has that ability. Obviously, it's about what he wants to play, but I would try to impose on him to play cornerback, and we will give you a lot of reps at wide receiver without you having to be the guy on the offensive side.
If Hunter's there, I'm taking Hunter.
Yep.
If Carter's there and Hunter's gone, I agree with Field. The fact that they're strong at edge should not stop them from taking the best edge rusher in the draft. It's such a position of value, and to get a guy like that on that kind of rookie contract, you save so much money. But I also open my phone line, and here's why. The way I look at this draft, there's a pretty significant drop-off from Abdul Carter to the next tier of edge rushers. So if you're a team like Carolina picking at 8, and I'm New York, I ask them, is there a price you're willing to pay to move up? Or even like Atlanta or some other teams picking in the top half. There's a lot of teams that would be, I think, a good fit for Abdul Carter because the Giants have a lot of needs. Offensive line remains in need. The secondary they need to add to. And while I really love Abdul Carter, I do think if there is potential to get a haul, I would seriously consider that if I was New York.
I mean, I've thought about that too. If the Patriots have a scenario where a player like Abdul Carter is available for them at number 4, could they, or Shedeur Sanders for that matter, could they try to move back and accumulate extra draft capital in what is more of a deep draft than it is a top-heavy draft? Here's the part that I'm having the hardest time with is finding teams that are motivated to move up, which has been a difficult exercise for me to endure so far in this pre-draft process. And then beyond that, what's the price point, right? Like, there's not going to be a Trey Lance type package that comes the way of the New York Giants because it's not going to be for a quarterback in this scenario. Then the Giants have to ask themselves, if we could pick up a couple of mid-round selections, is that worth it to bypass a guy who, while I am a Travis Hunter number 1 overall player on the board person, there's still a chance that Abdul Carter 5 years from now is one of the 5 best pass rushers in the NFL and making $40+ million per year.
There are 4 Super Bowl trophies in the Giants team facility. They're testaments to the edge rush and importance thereof. Last time they were in the top 3 in sacks was 2011. They did win the Super Bowl that year.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn tô tượng. Tượng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là khẩu súng. Các bạn hôm nay tượng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là bom nổ. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu tô nhé. Đầu tiên là mình tô màu đỏ nha.